about something that I put together on the Uber ride over. So these slides may not perfectly, they won't be as good as some of the presentations without slides, but I'll try to do my best. So I'm going to talk about community today. I call the talk ctrl-alt-community because we're a geek community and we're a bunch of nerds. But before I get into that, I'm going to talk about my favorite topic, me. I'm actually not going to bore you as much as I would love to talk about myself. Lauren told me she will kill me if I talk too much about myself, so I'm going to switch over to you can find out about myself. Oh, actually, if someone wants to take a picture, yeah, of course. Yeah, so, if you want to know about me, learn about me, you can scan the QR code and check out my LinkedIn profile. But what I'm here to talk about is community and why communities matter. And that's really driven by this, an extension of me and my life. So I actually went to 12 different schools. Now, I would love to tell you that I went to 12 different schools because I traveled that much. I did travel a lot. I did grow up in many countries, but unfortunately not as many as that warranted 12. That was also part of the reason why I went to 12 different schools is because with all the traveling and moving, that created a lot of behavioral problems. And then I, am a big mouth, so I would go, for example, talk to the principal of a particular school and say, "You're incompetent," and that would get me expelled. So, I'd like to say that, that I went to 12 schools because I went to 12 different cities. No, I went to I lived in 8 cities in Africa, Middle East, Asia, and the UK. I was born in the UK. But I am a mixed-race, third-culture child of multiple sort of dimensions. I guess you probably won't be able to tell where I'm from unless you can guess my last name. But I always felt like a bit of an outsider, a bit of a misfit. So that's why when I was listening to the first 2 conversations that happened before me, that really resonated because I've always felt like an outsider, a misfit, didn't really belong. All my friends were other weirdos, misfits, nerds that came from their own cultures but didn't really fit into their cultures. And so I've always found that I never really belonged to anyone at any place. I'm from the UK, I have a British passport, so I'm privileged, but I have a dodgy accent. So, most people think I'm Canadian. I think the Canadian in the room will say, "No fucking way." My accent's all over the place. But then I found the problem that I had was that I used to align my identity or try to align my identity, square peg through a round hole, trying to be British, and that wasn't right. And I tried to be many different cultures, and I couldn't. And then I realized that actually belonging to a country or a place may be irrelevant. Maybe we belong to people, and we belong to the people that I would resonate with were all over the world, and they're all misfits, and they're all over the world. And so that's why I want to talk about community. Because, why? Because humans are wired to belong, to share stories. Thousands of years ago, we were probably doing that, sitting around campfires, sharing stories. Now, the thing that I'd like to talk about is, thousands of years ago, around a campfire, you'd maybe break up into groups. So this is a sort of nice way to talk about, we came together around the campfire. But the reality is not everybody came around the same campfire. What would happen is that they would share stories, they would find their own tribes within the tribes, and then they'd break off, and then they'd have their own little conversations. And so that's what we look for. We're looking for belonging. Because why? Because we're social animals. I mean, we need to interact with other human beings and share stories, and that's what led to language, blah blah blah. Now, of course, thousands of years later, you see campfires around food in Singapore or Bali. I'm not in the Bali picture because I'm the guy taking pictures. I like to take pictures, but we evolved. We travel now. The world is so well connected. We can be anywhere in the world. What's interesting here is, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but these pictures of the community that I'm going to talk about today that I'm a part of. And by the way, I don't own it. I'm just a volunteer. I'm just a member of the community, so I'm not here to do a sales pitch. But this community of people is full of very interesting people. So, Dave McClure, he's the one who started the community a long time ago. But I can talk about different people in these in that picture that have had some very interesting sort of lives. So, for example, James, I can't point him out, but he's somewhere. He's the guy with the beard in the middle. He's American who grew up in Japan and lives in Japan, and has a Japanese fund. And you couldn't ask, if you asked him where he was from, he wouldn't know. But then he would join us for these trips to Asia, to Middle East, to Europe. And now, obviously, we've evolved. These shared experiences aren't just live experiences; they're also digital experiences. We share deal flow. So, what I'm going to talk about is 42 Geeks, and that is the community where I found that I could start to connect, find more people that were misfits, that were maybe part of my community. And this community, what I realized, was not in a physical place. So I used to live in Dubai, now I live in the Bay Area. I'm from the UK, I've lived in multiple places, and my wife is German, so my kids are half German, half British, citizens of the world, multiracial. So we don't really feel like we connect or belong to anybody, but when my daughters or I or my wife pick up the phone and think about who do we want to connect to, we'll have friends in all over the world. And that is what is cool about these digital communities. And so 42 Geeks was my community, may not be everybody's community, but it's my community where I found people that belonged. But how did 42 Geeks come about? Actually, it started with Geeks on a Plane. Geeks on a Plane has been around for like 25 years. A bunch of geeks and nerds, they would get on a plane. They had a shared sort of interest in exploring other ecosystems. They had a common language, which was nerdy, geeky stuff. And we like to talk, we like to travel, we like food, and we like to party and drink a lot. So that's really where it started. It started with Dave, who created this thing. Unfortunately, what happened is that the last Geeks on a Plane trip in Africa took place in 2017, and there haven't been any. And over the last couple of years, that geek community of hundreds of people, thousands of people actually all over the world, felt lost. So what happened is one of the members of the last 42 Geeks on a Plane tour, Chuck, decided to revamp that community because nobody owned it. So he then created, with Dave and some of the older geeks, this community called 42 Geeks. So who are the 42 Geeks? We're a global tribe of nerds, misfits, outsiders. Lauren's one. There's a bunch of people here that are nerds, that are geeks, 42 Geeks. We weren't designed for transactions. We're designed for shared experiences. We're designed to get together because we're all curious and we want some shared connection. So I'm going to actually get through, because I feel like I'm losing you guys. So I'm going to speed up and talk about maybe some of the stories that we can, some of the shared community stories that we've got that sort of kind of convert into something that's tangible. The idea here is this. I'm not selling you the 42 Geeks community. What I'm trying to tell you is people want to belong and want to have connection. But if you have an agenda and you join a community because you have an agenda, then it doesn't lead to any outcomes. So if you go into a community expecting outcomes, zero outcomes come out of it. What's interesting about this community is that we're all part of this community, and we use this community to share experiences, and then all of a sudden, magic starts to happen. Why? Because we're non-transactional. We build trust first. We're borderless, so wherever I go, and we travel a lot, so we constantly kind of meet people, and we have this shared sort of geek culture. So we've got this common language that we're talking about. Now, community leads to outcomes not because it's designed to, but because it is. And so I'm just going to quickly tell you a few stories. So this is me. This is a gentleman called Doug Song, who I met He's been a geek for decades as well. He's also the founder of a company called Duo Security. He sold that for 2.3 billion. So I am what you call an LP, a limited partner, an investor in funds, except I'm a broke investor in funds. This guy sold his company. He's not a broke investor in funds. I have an amazing track record. He and I decided to work together. But we didn't work together because of the opportunity. We got to know each other on a geek trip. We bonded on a geek trip. And we found that we had shared common interests, shared common values. And over time, last couple of years, he's been hounding me to sort of do something together. So we decided to create a fund of funds. And so we're creating a fund of funds now. We're actually in the process of doing that. What's interesting also is Chenzi, she is a geek that I met. She's part of the community. I have actually not been to a trip on a trip with her, but she's based in the Bay Area. I met her for coffee in a 42 Geek trip. Turns out that Doug is an LP in her fund. She's a VC. And it also turns out that her son and my daughter are in the same class in the same high school, Los Altos, and we live 2 minutes walk away. So we're now friends, which is kind of cool. And now I'm actually looking to invest in her fund. The point that I'm making is that, yes, there are transactions that are happening, but the transactions aren't happening because they're intended to happen. They're happening because we trust people. Why? Because people make decisions, investment decisions, or any decisions based on emotions. You can wrap it up in, I've got 5 minutes? Yeah, I talk too much. Another example. So this is the guy I told you about, Chuck, on the top left there. Chuck was one of the co-founders of the 42 Geeks community. He's actually not involved in a day-to-day basis at all. He created the community and he stepped back, but he's still a member. He met Anwei and they created a startup called EasyMate AI. And so they're doing really well. Another example, Ariel. Ariel is, I couldn't find her co-founders, but she met a bunch of her LPs on a bunch of 42 Geeks trips, and she was able to raise money. The point was, she wasn't there to raise money. She was there to have experiences, and then those experiences led to her, finding LPs, finding investors. Anyway, so the point is, what do? It's a community where we go on trips. We go on trips, we have shared experiences, we get to eat and drink, we do things together. That's me and Doug over there in Singapore. That's Doug and I, well, Doug wasn't there, but I was in Riyadh. That's in Montevideo or somewhere. We've been to tons of trips. We've been to many, many trips. We've had, I can't even tell how many. Yeah, 24 countries in the last couple of years, 250 geeks have been on. The point is, shared experiences create bonding opportunities for bonding experiences to be able to create trust, and that is what community is all about. So anyway, if you're interested to learn more about 42 Geeks, just go to 42geeks.com and you'll see a bunch of those. The salesy part of my thing is over, and I guess I don't know if we have any time for questions because I do, as I said, talk too much.
I have just one question for you. So I think everything that we can sit, everything that you just told us about 42 Geeks really illustrates that travel is this fertile ground for the kind of shared experiences that builds culture across cultures. So based on that, what are you looking for from an internet country?
So, by the way, I loved the idea of the internet country. I put my phone down and I started listening, because that is actually what I've been looking for my whole life. The thing is, we live in the Bay Area today, and we used to live in Dubai, but my children are growing up. I still want them to have a similar experience, but not as fucked up as mine. I went to too many schools. I still want them to be able to travel the world, but travel the world and experience it in ways that you can't experience if you're just visiting. So I want to be able to take them and have them live in a country that is a different country and experience life as a local. The problem is you can't do that because, so much of the infrastructure rails don't exist. I think these ideas, and I apologize, I think one of the network stakes and whatever, some of these ideas, these libertarian, stupid fucking ideas, don't make any sense to me. Because they don't think about solving the real core problems. The real core problems are the digital infrastructure, the digital rails, the back office, the stuff that you need, that needs to be solved. And nobody's really solving that. So what was interesting for me was that SafetyWing is actually thinking about solving those problems. Sorry, I didn't answer your question, I think. I've just gone off.
What are you looking for from an internet country?
What am I looking for in an internet country? To allow me to do what I do, which is to travel and to be able to plug into people. So when we moved here, it was really hard for us to connect with people because we didn't know. I mean, I knew people. My wife didn't know anybody. Just when we decided we're leaving California and we're going somewhere else, my wife met somebody on the off chance, and now she's super happy. But it's really hard. So I think really being able to travel and have all our health insurance and all the other stuff taken care of, but then be able to connect into people that you can plug and play. You may not like the first person you meet, but at least they'll be similar to you, and then they'll be able to connect you to somebody that you might gel with.
Wonderful. I think I'm going to TLDR your answer as infrastructure, and SafetyWing might just be along the right lines for what you need.
I'm glad I'm here. And I agree.
Thank you so much, Asha. I will dismiss you from my stage.